What is going on, folks? I am Goat, and welcome back to Warframe. Yeah, I said that I wasn't going to be recording much content, if any, and if I did, then I would change my mind at the last minute, and it's November 1st. So yeah, changed my mind at the last minute. Might be a little sporadic, but here we are. As we can see, my primary account just hit 900 fucking logins, which means I now have the final primed mod. I'm okay with this. Yeah. I'm at 101 logins with the baby account and 900 with the big boy account. So, I want to talk about Archon Shards and DevStream 165. So first and foremost, let's talk about Archon Shards, right? Like, we have Crimson, we have Amber, and we have Azure or Cyan, right? The Azure one, the light blue ones. And then, of course, we have the Tau Forged versions of them, which just means they're a little bit better, right? Like, who do I have a Tau Forged on? I've got a Tau Forged on Lavos. So we'll inspect the difference between the two. Actually, hold on. They have the same function, so... Okay, so a standard Azure shard gives you armor. Well, Lavos is all about wanting more armor and some casting speed, because his ability casting is a touch slow. Which is exactly what we have here with the Amber shard, 25% casting speed. So, but then the Tau Forge gives me 225 armor compared to the 150 that a standard Azure gives me. So, Tau Forge is obviously what you want, right? But where's best to use them? Like, I see people talking about Inaros, right? You know, let's put, let's put armor ones on Inaros. Right? Let's put armor ones on Inaros. Okay. Break this down, all right? Look at some here real quick. Probably see a Discord thing pop up on screen. Yep. As I sent a message to somebody on the exact armor calculation to do in this game. And actually, truth be told, I don't even need to do that, right? So, I don't even need Discord. I'm stupid. Very stupid, actually. It just, un momento, por favor. I wasn't even thinking that there's actually an application that I can... Where's it at? Huh? Where the fuck is it? I had a thing saved. Warframe damage reduction calculator. Right here. Okay, so let's take this into account, okay? So there is armor, there's shields, there's health, and then there is effective health, which is basically the compilation of everything, right? So, with an Aros, you have no shields. With this build, we have 8,734 health, right? The armor is 939. So, that puts an Aros, with this build, no shards, no nothing, right? At, derp. Give me just a moment here. 76% damage reduction. Now, with having no shields to stop anything, the only thing that we have to work with is Negation Swarm and Adaptation, correct? So Negation Swarm is Scarab Swarm Augment. It basically, Scarab Armor protects Inaros from status effects, consuming 3% bonus armor for each effect resisted. Now, basically what that means is that between Adaptation, stopping individual things one at a time, this motherfucker, each one of the little scarabs flies out and just stops a status proc. But does that mean that you are impenetrable to damage? No, not at all. You do have a damage reduction with this build of 76%. So the thing that you do to try to stop the majority of the damage from hitting you, because Inaros' abilities are just kind of a fucking joke, aside from his 4 with his augment, is use Arcane Deflection maxed out. That gives you 102% chance to resist slash. That's pretty fucking solid, because the two things that definitely get through armor are slash and toxin. Now, heat diminishes armor, but it doesn't stop armor, right? So the two things that are guaranteed they're going to hit you to straight to health is going to be slash and armor and toxin, right? So let's say that we add, you know, an Azure shard for 150, right? Okay, so that would put our armor at 1089. That would put us at 78%, right? So what if we had nothing but standard crimson shards? Okay, we have 5 of them. 5 standard crimson shards. So that'd give us an additional 750, right? So 939 plus 750. So that would put us up to 1689 armor, right? Now this is when it gets crazy, crazy way better. Now, is it an investment that I think every player should do? No. Because Inaros is limited to basically gunplay and just sheer walking health bar. So applying a metric fuck ton of damage reduction, yeah, I mean, that's appealing in itself, but that doesn't make him a tank. That just means he has a lot of fucking health and damage reduction, okay? But if you stuck 5 Azure, just regular Azure shards on Inaros, that's going to give you 85% damage reduction with an overall effective health of 57,906. And that's not taking into account being able to basically stop slash, stop toxin, and then negate anything else that tries to get to your health. So you're not going to get status proc. You can still get critted, but you're not going to get status proc. So is there better places to stick Azure shards? Sure. But at the same time, is there really? Like, let's think about this, okay? Is there, I don't know why the hell I put the Basmu on there, but whatever. Is there better places to put Archon Shards? Revenant, perfect example. Okay, Revenant. As you can see, I've got 2 crimsons and 1, excuse me, and I'm sorry, we've got 1 crimson and 2 amber. A little bit, a 10% ability strength buff, never a bad thing with Revenant, because that's just more chalk lines up for, excuse me, more charges for Mesmer Skin. And the reason I have the 2 ambers on here is to not have to use natural talent. So 25% casting speed, 25% casting speed. And I'm sorry if you hear noise in the background, my dryer is running, so it is what it is. So these 2 shards basically take the place of natural talent, leaving me the ability of doing something just a little bit different, because this was, it behaves, my natural talent build. I was able to actually stick Power Drift in there and then Augur Reach to give myself a little bit more range to work with enthralling and reeve, and then also to work with putting in, you know, with increasing the range of ensnare just a little bit, right? So better casting time, and this is where we are. Now, granted, this is still my preferable build just because I'm more of a weapon play guy than an ability guy. But this is a solid, I really don't want to die today build. 20 charges base, and not even taking into account Molt Augmented, which will give me 60% additional energy strength on top of 347%. So that's going to be 407%. Ability strength once Molt Augmented is built up. That's insanely good. Okay, it's very good. So it's taking into account where you can save space with builds, or how you can buff the overall gameplay for what works best for you, right? So for me, like you can see, you know, I love the fact that they show not just how much format you have in the frames, but where you've stuck shards. I love that. Okay, so like I've got 2 on Octavia, I've got 3 on Protea, I've got 3 on Revenant. Here, let's just go up. Let's see, let's go. So 2 on Korra Prime, 3 on Lavos. I'm obviously far from done because I'm still collecting. 3 on Revenant Prime, 3 on Protea. 3 on Wisp. I have a spare Protea in there and a spare Titania Prime from drops. Well, that wasn't what I was trying to do at all. So yeah, so I mean, you get the general idea of where this is going, right? So Revenant was so I could open up a mod slot and give myself just a little buff in ability strength, right? Nezha the frame, I'm not going to put shards in, okay? Like, until I just run out of places to throw shards, I'm not putting shards in Revenant, or in Nezha. There's a very big reason as to why. I don't need to, okay? Nezha in his base form is basically the way Warding Halo functions. Okay, Warding Halo functions like an extra armor. Okay, it has an automatic 90% damage reduction if I remember the equation properly. Okay, so he's got like an automatic 90% damage reduction. But on top of that, the armor starts out at a base level depending on what your ability strength is, right? And then there's a absorption multiplier, which what that is basically whatever damage is being thrown at you, whatever you're absorbing while you're invulnerable, gets transferred into a larger damage absorption Warding Halo armor. Which is why probably just go ahead and turn that off. What was that? Oh. So anyway. So basically, this is why me and Monster joke about, getting stupid high Warding Halo armor numbers. Okay, because as long as you've got Arcane Grace on this build, okay, this build in particular, it's 2 Umbra Forma, just so you're aware, it's definitely 2 Umbra Forma, and there's really kind of no getting around that because it's a full Umbral set build. So, not a lot of people may really like that fact, but believe me when I tell you, this is absolutely one of those few builds when I could say you could actually throw 3 Umbra Forma at it if it was necessary for the point value. As you can see, unless I was going for something like Preparation, which is a 12-point mod, there's no need. Like, this more than handles the job. But it's 2 Umbra Forma, 4 Forma total. Okay? But Molt Augmented to give me the extra boost in energy, or ability strength, and an Arcane Grace. So whatever gets through that 10% damage reduction and adaptation that actually does hit my health, it's getting through so little that it's enough to trigger Arcane Grace fairly frequently, so I pretty much just never die with Nezha. I think I've probably, since I've been running this build, I think I've died 3 times, and all 3 times were to 2 Acolytes. Total. Twice to Malice, once to Violence, and the 2 times to Malice was literally because I was in a squad and I had my volume turned down, and I was just playing very recklessly, and I didn't see the magnetized strings starting to get around me, and by the time I did, it was too late and I had killed myself. Violence, I was in a crowd of enemies on the steel path at, like, I don't know, 2 hours into a fucking survival, so these motherfuckers were like level 350 or some shit, or maybe 450, somewhere in that range. But I was in a crowd, Violence just ran right by me, dispelled my Warding Halo, and I took a bunch of bullets to the face and died rapidly. So there were my mistakes. Those are about the only ways to die with this. Worst case scenario, if Arcane Grace doesn't trigger, then you just apply Magus Repair on your Operator or your Drifter, and you can just fix your fucking Warframe while you're in Void mode and then pop back in and go on about your business. And this is a strength efficiency build. If you just want a pure high strength build for even more armor, this is a good way to go too, because you don't need anything but Zeneric and the build. Zeneric to give yourself energy, and then boom. But I mean, this is, 10,000 armor with a 9.25 multiplier. This is actually the build that gave me the 2.24 million fucking armor, which, or Warding Halo damage absorption armor, the 90% damage absorption. Yeah, it lasted for almost an hour. It was good times. But my preference is the more efficient build because it's just more than good enough. It really is. So why should I put anything on Nezha? Does he need more ability strength base? No. Does he need casting time? No. The only thing that you could do is put shards on here to increase your weapon damage. That's about the only thing that Nezha would need, is just, hey, you know what? My builds are good, but I want to make them OP as fuck. I want to make them godlike. So let's add, 25% primary, 25%, melee, 25% to your fucking, your secondaries and so on, or maybe you want a little bit more energy pool to work with just in case. That's possible. This build is perfectly fine as it sits. So, like Lavos. Lavos, I stuck, this and this. So I've got, 225, so 325, 375 additional armor. That puts Lavos at with this build at a 86% damage reduction, on top of the fact that he can, heal himself with his first ability, and then I increased his casting speed just a skosh. Another frame, Wisp. Very good frame to throw shards at. Tau Forged, Energy Max. Why not? If you're not going to use an energy mod, why not give yourself a little bit more pull, especially if you're going to use a tanked out fucking efficiency build like this one. 45% efficiency, having a little bit more energy is never a bad thing. And then I've got, guess what? Ability Strength. And, oh, by the way, guess what? Ability Strength. Is there better ways to use it? Sure. But when I'm rocking 334% ability strength with 124% range and 172% duration, with a 375 energy pool, me and Zeneric and Wisp get along very well on the Archon defenses and pretty much any of the defensive type of missions on the Steel Path. Like, unless I'm trying to revive, you know, unless I get one tapped by that damn toxin proc on the Archon hunts, which has happened a couple of times, or if I'm an idiot and I stand still too long on a Steel Path mission, then yeah, this is a really, really, really good Wisp build to use, especially with these shards. Tau Forged Crimson, Tau Forged Azure, and a regular Crimson. Get the fuck out of here. And then running Silence over Will-O-Wisp, because honestly, I never used Will-O-Wisp and I never used Soulgate, so I just chose one. It is what it is. But this build is rude. Absolutely fucking rude. Works very well. So yeah. It's picky and choosy, okay? Find the deficiencies in a frame that you like to increase it just that much more, right? Because every frame has a deficiency in some way that we all learn to work around, and that's where these shards really come into play. A lot of people are going to say that the Azure shards are the weaker, and I do agree with that very much so, but I don't think that they are useless. I just think that the Crimson and the Amber are much better. I mean, we're talking about damage output with weapons. We're talking about, you know, ability strength. We're talking about casting time. There's lots of things that the Crimson and the Amber do that Tau Forge just doesn't. Energy regen. A little bit more energy pull. A little bit more health. A little bit more armor. You know, effectiveness with health orbs and energy orbs. It's just kind of meh, you know? Like, I think a frame that benefits from the energy orb pickup, if I remember correctly, I may have done that with Protea, actually. No, shield capacity. Just because I want her overshield to be that much better. That's, you know... I debated about it, though. Because of dispensary, you can just basically throw your own shit over, you know, throw your own energy orbs. Well, yeah, that works. So... be picky and choosy, but at the same time, look at your favorite frames. Don't, like, I try to tell people all the time, don't just main with one frame. If you're comfortable with one frame, that's fine. But truthfully, like, in the range of Steel Path, okay, truthfully, if you're a reckless-ass player, having, like, 5 to 7 frames that you can really kind of rely on to get jobs done is absolutely OP. Okay, it really is. So, like, Revenant has finally, especially with his rework from the last update, and it was just mild tweaking towards the Mesmer skin function of things, but Revenant has finally eclipsed Neja for me. So he's a Mr. Never Die unless you forget to cast Mesmer skin. Neja is a Mr. Never Die unless you forget to recast Warding Halo. Lavos is I'm going to stand here and get shot in the face while I kill you. Wisp is I'm going to heal everything around me, even God. Protea is literally I'm going to control this area and blast you with cannons. Wukong, I'm going to slip past you like a fart in the wind and do spy missions. Bonus. Titania, I'm going to go rescue a hostage, keep myself status immune, and if you do try to shoot at me, I'm going to either heat proc you to death, or I'm going to fucking cast Zada's Whisper and attract every fucking round that's thrown my way back towards you as long as we're close. And then Octavia in a general sense of I'm going to make you kick your own ass. Like, I've got 8 frames guaranteed that I run on the Steel Path on a very constant level. And it's those top 8 right there. Now, do I say that those are the top 8 frames? No, because playstyles are different. Excuse me. But don't be afraid to be a little picky and choosy about how you use these shards. Just find the deficiencies of what doesn't work quite well enough for you and use the shards accordingly to fix the problems, right? Maybe open up a mod slot. Maybe, you know, make their casting time a little bit better. Maybe give them a little bit more of an energy pool and so on. So there's that. So into DevStream 165. I do want to say this. I actually had a previous recording only of the Archon Shards, and truth be told, it was really kind of a wasted video because I had my numbers wrong and my head really wasn't with it so much. But at the end of the day, DevStream 165 I found to be highly annoying. Okay, I really did. Lots of skins, lots of, you know, lots of generalistic horse shit in a lot of ways. And then one particular problem that really just struck out and just stood out to me, okay, was the fact that they've pretty much, they say they're still thinking about it, but as much as they're talking about it, it's going to happen. They're bringing back self-damage. I don't give a shit what they say at this point. Unless for some reason they just have this massive change of heart at the last minute, they're going to be bringing back self-damage. Now, self-damage was still in existence when I very first started playing this game. But when you're mastery 1 through 4 range, it's not a big deal. Because you don't have anything that's going to damage you. You really don't. So I never ran into the problem of self-damage. I never ran into the problem of killing myself with my weapons. Now, bonus is that if they bring back self-damage, it's not going to be at the point of you being able to kill yourself, but it's going to be a percentage based off of what I can tell as being the fall off of a weapon, first of all, and then second of all, that percentage playing into that. So up to a 75% self-damage function, which I find to be horribly problematic. Because I think one thing that we can all agree on in regards to digital extremes is that they have a bit of a thing about just doing blanket coverage with drops, or blanket coverage when it comes to changes and hotfixes, right? Like, let's be honest. What are the 3 AoE weapons that come to mind? Everybody and their mother was complaining about when it came to automated gameplay, screen graphics issues, basically not being able to see what the fuck you're doing, and just generally cheesing the shit out of the game. I can tell you 3 specifically. Okay? And then there is a 4th one in there, depending on how a person does the energy color of their weapon. The 3 that I know of for sure: the Kuva Brahma, the Kuva Tsar, and the Kuva Ogress. Now, the Ogress is loosely in there. That one's more for the graphical side of things, but it really is loosely in there because you can basically just lock down a section of the map, and as long as you're close enough to that lockdown section, you're constantly gaining fucking ammunition back prior to the ammo nerf. Now the Ogress is basically dead. I mean, it's usable, but you can run out of ammo very quickly with it, as well as the Brahma and the Tsar. Still both usable, though. Not saying they're not. But instead of just going after those 3 weapons, and by the way, the 4th weapon, just for the visuals of things, which didn't take near as much of a nerf as the rest of them, is the Tenant Envoy. Like, if somebody comes in with a bright white or a hot pink or some shit like that, you're going to lose your fucking retinas, okay? Well, I don't know. I may have caught it once or twice when Monster was being a little silly with his builds and like, bright white, and it was like, oh, well, Jesus just came in my eye. Holy shit, I'm not going to be able to see. I just stared at the sun. So it is what it is. But those kinds of weapons, those AoE weapons. So instead of going after the problematic weapons only that were really truly giving that automated playstyle, they just did a blanket over anything whatsoever that had AoE. They automatically nerfed the ammunition on almost all of it. Okay, then they nerfed the ammunition drops, so the ammo drops themselves into one singular ammo, which was very much needed, but then changed the frequency of how that dropped. So unless you're running something like Lavos, or you have a bunch of ammunition drop pads that you can do on regular star chart, or just pray like hell you get enough drops during a mission, if you hear fans, sorry, I'm getting hot, you know, can be slightly problematic. You know, but when they took away self-damage, they applied self-stagger, which is why something like Cautious Shot, Prime Sure-Footed, those kinds of things exist. Sure-Footed, so on and so forth. And now, because the result isn't what they wanted, because gutting the Merciless Arcanes and nerfing the bejesus out of anything possible that had an AoE potential or AoE potential function to it, minus Glaives and the Trumna and the Bubonico, now we're going to bring back self-damage. So this way you can nearly kill yourself and then let the enemies finish you off. About the only frame that's not going to give a shit about this is, at least at face value, by the way they're describing it, is going to be this guy right fucking here that we're looking at, being Revenant. Because applying any sort of damage to you whatsoever is just going to trigger a charge off of Mesmer Skin. Unless it bypasses Mesmer Skin and takes off your health, but you're still going to be alive because you're still going to have Mesmer Skin. So something has to be able to hit your fucking Mesmer Skin. It's whatever. Revenant is going to be the only one that does not give a shit about taking health damage. And they said specifically that you're not going to be able to kill yourself. That's the biggest news that I don't like. Self-damage. Like, it could be, as always, we will adapt and we will overcome, but it's going to be frustrating how they apply it. That's why I'm loosely frustrated, but I don't know how the application is going to be. Are they going to do just this carpet bomb blanket coverage across anything that could possibly damage you? Because if that's the case, it's going to make the game highly unplayable. Are they going to pickle race it and just figure out what works? More than likely, because that's what they usually do. But it tends, when they do that, it tends to affect other weapon types. Like when they did the ammo nerf, they gutted the arcane merciless mods, or the arcane, yeah, the arcane primary and secondary merciless mods, and they took the ammo capacity off. Which, sure, that takes away the ability for, you know, a lot of the AoE weapons to continue to run on a little bit more of an automated fashion and at least be usable. But it also gutted the shit out of like 2/3 of the fucking single target weapons in the game too, because something like the Tenet Flux Rifle, which is a gun I love very much, you can literally blast through the 1,200 rounds of ammunition that you get very fucking quickly with that gun. So it's problematic. Yeah. I mean, other things talked about, there's 2 new survival missions that are coming, that are story-based survival missions that are coming. On Lua, those will come in December because Deveri's now been bumped to 2023, and my best guess is going to be probably, I'm going to say February or March. Given their usual schedule, they don't usually do a lot in January, and February's kind of hit or miss aside from Valentine's Day stuff, so I get a feeling it's probably going to be early March, my best guess, which is fine. Their big reasoning is that they're not ready. I'm okay with that answer. It's like I said about Angels of Zariman and everything else. I would much rather them just be honest and say, look, we're not ready and we don't want this to be buggy. So we just want to be honest and just put this back. Please do. I'm okay with having to wait a few extra months for Deveri Paradox to come out as long as it's right, you know? Veilbreaker, buggy. Angels of the Zariman, buggy. You know, Call of Tempestaria had some bugs. You know, there's been bugs on, you know, I mean, hell, the New War had some bugs. There's been bugs on so many of the more recent updates that it's just been like, oh my fucking god, would you guys just test this shit out more? And at least finally they're saying, okay, so instead we're gonna get Lua's something or other. I don't even remember what the fuck it's called. I don't care. But there's some survival mission that has some hints to Deveri in it from what I was gathering from the video. It looks like we're going to be able to use Necromex on this particular tile set, so that's pretty cool. And that's also where they're going to be releasing the 51st Warframe, being Varuna, the werewolf Warframe. Werewolf-inspired Warframe, I should say, which is going to have 4 active passives. Figure that one out. You're going to be able to change the passives on the fly, so that no longer means that it's a passive ability, but it's an active ability. It's a passive function, but an active ability to change. Like, a passive ability is a passive ability. That's just a thing that's there and it happens, right? If you can change something that is claimed to be passive, that means that it's active. But hey, you know, we're just playing on words here at this point. So she's going to have 4 actively, functionally changed passives that you can change while in missions. It's whatever. It sounds interesting. They're also, as of November 2nd, which by the time this post is when that's going to be, actually, yeah, we're going to post this as soon as I'm done recording. So there's going to be, as far as November 2nd goes, there's going to be the next drop of the Echoes of Veilbreaker, which is going to be the cumulative additions to Call's Garrison missions, which will be highly, highly loved. The fact that there's going to be like more of certain things to collect instead of there being a set number. Like the gene stamps, there's only 5. That's really annoying because most of the time you can only find 4 of them, and it's very fucking annoying. You search the whole fucking map and you can't find 5 because sometimes the game bugs and there's just 4 of these bitches. You can check every fucking nook and cranny and you still only find 4. Now they're saying there's going to be more like 7 or 8 just to make sure you get everything. So instead of having to run a half-hour long mission 4 times to find everything. So that's good. I appreciate that thought. And then the Sabotage Sisters from the Void mission, I can't remember the name, but now there's going to be weapon skins for hammers and sniper rifles, which the weapon skin for the hammer honestly looks like a very bulbous, bumpy looking dildo with a handle, so I don't even want it. And at least those are going to be optional parts of Call's Garrison fights, because apparently we're going to have to either unveil them and kill them, or just unveil them and pray they don't kill us. It's whatever. But that was DevStream 165. Like, I don't know if they're literally doing this just to fuck with us, or if they're being dead serious. But honestly, I want to see content, you know? So like Echoes of Veilbreaker it's content quality of life, but it's really not content. This new thing coming in December, the Lua's whatever, is some short-lived level of content, I guarantee, and then a way to farm the new Warframe and her weapons, which are going to be like an axe and something else, which axes suck in the game right now. So, you know, I mean, like, if they wouldn't have gutted the hell out of the stances in like 2020, I think it was 2019 or 2020. I want to say it was early 2020, but I could be incorrect. But yeah, I mean, if they wouldn't have gutted half the goddamn melee stances in the game, axes were actually kind of a thing back then, just like whips and some of the heavy blades, but now they're really not. Which you would think, a big heavy axe and a big heavy blade and a big hammer and, you know, big weapon, big BB gun or dual swords, you know? I mean, you know, it's a shit like that. You would think, you know, the more the merrier, the bigger the better. Not so much. The stances themselves are what get hurt. So you're much more reliant on the builds being not to the status quo in order to make them function better for your playstyle rather than functioning on combos. So, I don't know. I mean, we're going to see how this goes. I'm honestly not trying to be negative about it, truthfully, because I really dig the Archon Shards system thus far. Unlike quite a lot of people, although slightly aggravated here and there because of like the bug with the whole kill 10 of the sentient fighter ships, which was unable to be fixed, but at the same time, they're basically, when the Echoes of Veilbreaker drops, they're just going to give 15 stock to anybody who has been at that point, who attempted the mission and could not, so that's good, which means probably everybody's going to get it. Blanket drop, probably. It's whatever. Anybody who's finished, you know, Veilbreaker, at least, I would guess, is going to get it. Because we were unable to finish that mission, which is fine. It's totally fine by me. If that's how they want to do that, that's, you know, hey, you know what, we fucked up, here's the payment back. I'm good with that. I really am. I'm glad that they're pushing Deviri off, and at least attempting to make the release for it correct, because there's been so much hype behind it that I swear to God, if they were to drop Deviri in December and they weren't ready for it and it was all fucked up, I think half the community would go, you know, up in arms against them, you know, like virtually on social media. I think they would get blasted and have so much negative shit posted about them. I don't know that Digital Extremes would recover, because they've been consistently pissing off the community for a year and a half, well, at least the last 12 months. So, yeah, I hope Deviri goes off without a hitch. I really do. I'm honestly not looking... I'm one of the few people out there that's not looking forward to the Deviri Paradox. I'm really not. The storyline behind it I am, but the actual new, completely different open world... honestly, the look of that does not have an appeal to me. I don't care about riding some weird ghost horse. I don't care about doing some type of Groundhog Day resetting thing with the Drifter. I really could give two shits less. It's probably going to be fun, because usually when I don't care about something, it's fun. Which means I was totally wrong. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's amazing. But I don't know. As of right now, from what I've seen, it looks cool and all, but I don't think it's going to be something I'm going to be playing a bunch of, but I could be a million times wrong about that. So I'm not trying to be negative. I'm really not. I dig where things are going. That's, I guess, what I'm saying more than anything else. I truly am digging where the direction of what they're trying to do is going. I just hope the implementation is something that exceeds the you know, expectations of the gaming of this community of for Warframe right now. Because the community, the one thing I have noticed more than anything else in the last 12 months, the community's gone from this really, really tight-knit group of people. Everybody's GGing everybody, and we're all chatting up builds and everything. Basically, nobody talks to each other anymore unless it's either toxic as fuck or basically calling, you know, begging for trades. And, like, the begging for trades, everybody always wants free shit, so it is what it is. I'm not mad at that. But I do have a problem with the whole toxic nature, and it's really stemming back to the creators. It's stemming back to the designers of the game, because they're just pissing off the community, and the community's got to take it out somewhere. And because Digital Extremes, as of the last 12 months especially, has had this habit of deleting people's forum posts, deleting people's comments in the forum posts, even, you know, like the really nasty ones, I get it, but, you know, when somebody's trying to make a valid point without being nasty, like one I had earlier this year, you know, that's a bit of a problem. That's, you know, you tell the community we want your feedback, but then when they give feedback, you just delete it because you're like, nah, bro, that's too much. We don't want that much honesty. And that pisses people off. And they're leading their own community, which has been such a beloved community. It's been so awesome, down a really ugly path. So I really hope that these next few rounds of releases go off without a hitch, or at least not too many hitches. Because, I mean, it is a free-to-play at the end of the day, so there's always going to be bugs, and I'm okay with that. I just hope that it goes off without too many problems. Because as long as it does, I think it's going to just kind of reinvigorate most of the feelings of the hardcore Warframe community, and I think things are going to level the fuck out. I really hope they do. But if this self-damage thing hits, and it hits ugly, oh my sweet Jesus, people are going to freak the fuck out. So, I don't know. Beads to the natives, right? Give a little and hope that they take it. So folks, I do want to thank you very much for watching this video. As always, I will catch you in the next one.